Hey, welcome to my library. Today we're looking at Tales from Harrow County, Book 1, the big, beautiful library edition. This one is, of course, it's Dark Horse, and it's 224 pages. The list price on it is $39.99. I got mine at InStockTrades.com, and I think it was discounted to like $21.99. And that may have included a 2% loyalty discount, so it's somewhere in that neighborhood. Like all the Dark Horse library editions I have, it's a really good build, nice binding, just beautiful. It has a nice undercover that, underneath the dust jacket, as you can see here in this B-roll, and it's got a beautiful ribbon. There's really not anything to complain about the build on this. It's just, it's nice. All of the Dark Horse library editions are nice like this. Now, the creators on this one are Cullen Bunn and Tyler Crook, doing the story and the scripting, as they did on the original series, Harrow County, which is collected in 4 of these giant, beautiful library editions, and I have those too. And they're back again, but this time Tyler Crook is not on art. We have 2 different artists on here, Naomi Franquise and Emily Schnall. Now, as far as the contents, this collects the 2 Tales from Harrow County miniseries, Death's Choir, issues 1 through 4, and Fair Folk, issues 1 through 4. And there's a lot of nice supplementary material at the back. Some beautiful character and creature sketch designs in the back there, and the alternate covers are also included. A lot of those are by Tyler Crook. Nice stuff. It's a pretty great package overall, no doubt. Now, as for the story, this one takes place 10 years after the events of Harrow County. Now, this book is, in my opinion, does not stand alone in any shape or measure. You need to have read Harrow County, the first series, before you even bother to pick this up. So do that. Now, this one, like I said, it's 10 years after the events of Harrow County. So this is during World War II. And it's going to follow Emmy's girlfriend, Bernice. Because, Emmy's still gone, but Bernice stayed in Harrow County to take care of it. If you remember what happened in the first series, she stayed behind to sort of protect Harrow County from all of the various magical beings and whatnot going on there. So the story, I really love this story. I thought it was great. I like both of them. The first one and the second one, fantastic. It just really pulled me in. I'm really, really happy with it. And it ends, definitely ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. So it's guaranteed we got more to come. And I'm all in for it, I tell you. It's this series, if you haven't read the other Harrow County, well, if you haven't read Harrow County, the main series, you probably shouldn't even look at the video, quite frankly, unless you just want to see what I thought about it. But yeah, because this is sort of a Southern Americana Gothic kind of horror. It reminds me of a lot of the original Twilight Zone episodes. I would imagine that Cullen Bunn is a huge Twilight Zone fan. I can't imagine that he's not, but because this really reminds me of some of the old Twilight Zone episodes that had this sort of similar setting with a small rural Southern American town. Yeah, and I think it's great. I loved every minute of it, and I can't wait to see more. We're introduced to some new monsters that we haven't seen before. I mean, we've seen haints and we've seen ghosts and other kinds of spirits in the first series, and now we get to see goblins, and we get to see the fairy folk. I think they may have been mentioned a little in the other series. It's been a while since I read it, but we delve quite a bit into the culture of the fairy folk and a little bit of their history, and it's pretty fascinating stuff. It's good. I try not to do too much spoiling in these reviews, for sure. Now, as far as criticism, negative-wise, about the only thing I complain about is the art. Well, I like the art. And I should admit that it took me a while to get used to Tyler Crook's art in the first Harrow County series. I had never seen his art before. That was my first exposure to it. And it took me a little bit to kind of get it, and appreciate it. And I ended up, by the time I got halfway through the 4 books, I loved his art. and I was all in for it. And this here, both artists they used here definitely fit into the sort of look of Tyler Crook's Harrow County. They nailed that. I have no problem with that. But I thought that the art by Naomi Franquise in the first half of the book, in Death's Choir, was really good. I liked it. I loved her figure work, and her facial expressions are just spot on, and I think she nailed the era, as far as the cars and the architecture and stuff, and some of the stuff we see there. It's all really good, and she put a lot of thought into it, you can tell, and I appreciate that. Now, what I didn't like is the coloring, and I could not find anywhere online or in the book a credit for the colorist, so I can only assume that the artist in both of these stories did their own color work. And I don't hate the color work. I just think that in Death's Choir, I thought it was a little bit too bright and a little too garish at times. I think it would have been better to tone down some of that color for the mood of this story. I didn't think it fit. I thought it was a little jarring when it was overly bright and colorful. It just didn't work for me. And I think that if they had toned that down, I think I would go higher for this as far as my rating on it. But it is a fairly minor thing in the grand scheme of this book and how great it is. So I'm not going to dwell on it too much. Now, as far as the second story, the art there is by Emily Schnall. And I could not find a color credit here either, so I assume she must have done her own coloring. And I thought the coloring was nailed here. I thought the tones, everything was good there. And again, the facial expressions, the figure work, all that was good. What I found lacking there was, at times, it looked like it was sort of unfinished. It had that, like it needed to be inked or something, or like she forgot to do the background maybe. And I know that's kind of a trend with a lot of the modern artists. They don't do backgrounds and they don't do super detail. It's more just, basic shapes and line work. And I know a lot of people love that. But I thought, for me, I'm old school in that. I'd rather have all the detail I can get, And, so, I mean, other people may think it's just perfect the way it is. It's all opinion. But that's mine. I think if it had more detail and more backgrounds, it would have went from, pretty good art to really great art, in my view. I mean, it works anyway, and it didn't really stop me from loving this thing. It just stopped it from being perfect for me. So overall, I'm giving this an 8. 8 out of 10, solid, easily. I think I rated the first 4 library editions of Harrow County, the main series. I gave that a 9 out of 10. And this one, for me, is an 8 out of 10. But man, the story is really good. And I loved the character of Bernice, how she's portrayed here. It's 10 years later, so she's older. She's more mature in her use of magic. And she's in charge, and she sets it right. Or she tries real hard. And she usually succeeds. And I thought it was a great story. Yeah, I love seeing this older Bernice and meeting her new girlfriend, Georgia. Great character there. And great character designs. Like I said, awesome attention to detail throughout. Really love that. It felt authentic. It felt like the time period was well done here. So yeah, a lot of great elements here. Can't wait for Volume 2. If you read Harrow County, the main series, yeah, don't hesitate to pick this up. Get it. It's great. 8 out of 10 for me. And I'll see you next week.